Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata here for another interview for the Real 50 Over 50. And this week we have Mal Duane with us. And I'm just going to give a brief introduction and then hand it over and let Mal really tell you who she is. So, she is a life recovery coach and way more than that. And she helps women, she mentors women to really um, understand the power within and become the people that they're supposed to be. But I'm going to let her fill you in on the details and then we're going to do something fun. So, Mal, take it away.
Oh, Donna, thank you. I'm honored to be here with you and to be part of this amazing group of women. When we had the kickoff and we all met together, I just
Hmm.
said, this is an amazing group of powerful women who really got their acts together, and they all
Yeah.
have fabulous, fabulous stories to share. My motivation is that my life was a train wreck. I think I've made every mistake a woman could make. All of those took a toll, they were painful. Um, but out of all that pain came an inspiration for me, a nudge to want to figure out, how can I do this better? How can
Mm.
I be more of the woman I'm meant to be, live fully, be happy, be successful? What do I need to do? And when I figured that out, that there is a method, there are things that we can do as women to empower ourselves and live better lives. I've since made it my mission to share what I've learned.
That's amazing. So now, I in the last week, I have been very inspired by a podcast that I was listening to. Julia Louis Dreyfus has a new podcast out called Wiser Than Me, and she interviews women that have lived more years than she has, and she learns from their wisdom. So, as I was listening to this, I was thinking, well, my interview this week is with Mal, and she, of the interviews we've done so far, has lived the longest. Do you want to share how many years you've lived
I
so
am
far?
75 and I will be 76 in August. And I've never felt better.
So now here is the other inspiration that I had since Mal was going to be the guest today. And I know her story pretty well. We go way back. We were just discussing that, and we think it's 12 years. So, what I was so inspired about, and what I have been so inspired about as I was kind of looking through all of the information that everybody shared for me around this project, and so far it's 53 people have shared all of the information that we have up on the website, and you know information about themselves. The thing that shines through everything is wisdom. We all have wisdom, and because of that podcast, it made me think, what if we did this interview a little differently and we just explored Mal decade by decade and the wisdom that she gained from living that decade and the pain that she went through, the exercises and the lessons and the things, the good, the bad, and the ugly of each decade, and, to where we are today and what you see happening in the future.
I'm game, girl.
Okay, you
Nope.
start where you'd like.
Well, I look at my life as before 50 and after 50,
Mhm.
or I should say before 40 and after 40, because at 41 was the huge turning point for me. Up until 41, I had what looked like to most people a very exciting life. Had modeled, traveled globally, photographed all over, beautiful clothes, hanging out with the rich and famous, consuming enormous amounts of alcohol, um, having lots of failed relationships, and never really having any self worth. Never thinking I deserved better or to that I just didn't deserve to be happy. And the only way I find and keep that all going was to numb the pain that I was feeling. And so alcohol really became my best friend. It worked for a period of time, and then it slowly started to not work. And depression started to kick in a very big way. I was really starting to live in a very dark frame of mind, feeling that there was no future, no potential, looking at ending my life, that might be my best option, starting to maybe even plan that. And one night, it was December 30th, 1988, when I was planning all of this, saying, you know, I don't have another day in me to keep drinking. I'm done. And I thought maybe death would be the best way out. I heard a voice I had never heard before. I can't actually say if it came through in audio or through thought, but what I did hear very clearly was that I couldn't go, that I had lessons to learn. I needed to master those lessons. And when I did, then I would need to go and teach others. That experience put such a hook into me. What is this? What does it mean? What's happening? I thought I was having a massive breakdown first. I said, oh my God, I have really cracked. But it just coming through. And the next day, I never really went to sleep, but about 6 o'clock in the morning, I went over to a friend of mine's, a neighbor who was in AA, and I said, hey, George, gotta go. He said, Mal, I've been holding a seat for you for a long time. And that was the beginning of my journey of sobriety. And very honestly, Donna, life changed dramatically from that day on. And I did what I needed to do to get sober, go to meetings at AA, really focus on my sobriety. What I started to feel very early on was, you know what? All my own thinking created all my problems. Me rehashing, renumerating over and over stuff that happened to me, which really wasn't my fault. It had nothing to do with me, but I took everything personally. All that I was carrying, thinking was what was causing my pain. And once I figured that out, that it was my thoughts that were messing me up and not the actual experience that happened 20 years ago, long gone, the people in it, long gone, but my thoughts kept carrying that. I was able to really start to do some deep work to make significant change.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then, so what comes next?
So I would say that first 10 years in my 40s, I did a lot of classes, inner work, working with coaches, going on retreats, started meditation, which may be my favorite tool of all times, because it taught me how to settle down and get grounded within myself and just slow that crazy monkey mind of mine down, so that I could start to really change my perception and stop living out of my head and drop more down into my heart. And that was a big, big step for me. Once I changed that thinking, the gloves were off. I mean, I tripled my business. I ended up becoming incorporated. I bought a horse who became a world champion. I mean, everything I started to do that I was passionate about became tremendously successful.
And this was real estate. The business was real estate, right?
Real estate, anything I wanted to do became very successful because I had tapped into my own self-worth as a woman. I was now showing up, being me, having the confidence in me, and being very authentic about who I was and what I wanted. And I had never done that my whole life. I never spoke up.
Yeah.
Never, never
Yeah.
asked for what I wanted, or never said no. I didn't know how to say no.
There is so much alignment with your story and the story that Jane Fonda shared on that
Mhm.
podcast. And one of the things that she said was, when she was going when she was going into her 59th year, between 59 and 60, she realized that she was going into the third act of her life. And as an actor, the third act makes the first two like understandable. It makes them make sense. And the other thing that she said that is coming up for me as you're sharing your story is, as you're going through this, you go back into your girlhood and you start to become the person that you were supposed to be before you started doing for everybody else.
Yes, absolutely. Um, as I've matured, and from that initial day of recovery, this this is a whole nother life for me. I mean, there's just no comparison as to how I live today to how I lived before my sobriety. But I've never taken it for granted. I've every year I make a goal of taking certain classes, reading a certain number of books, doing travel, business programs, whatever I need to do to continue that self development that has been so important to me. Because I didn't do any of that when I was younger. I dropped out of college, couldn't wrap my head around education and being there. I mean, my mind was just so consumed with painful thoughts and craziness that I couldn't embrace maybe opportunity or what really was good for me. But since I have learned what really ignites my soul, what really makes me feel good, and I go for that 150%, whether it's classes, um, seminars, courses, travel, I pursue what lights me up and what also really contributes to my development as a woman. All of this has enhanced my relationships with people. I've grown dramatically in this past, I'm going to say significantly, the past 10 years. I have grown exponentially. As you know, I've written a couple of books about that. I've shared my story. I've been able to talk about it. There's no shame. As I say, I've made every mistake, and um, you know, you name it, divorced, whatever. I've been a cougar. I've had young boyfriends. It's all there. But I own. In other words, today somebody could not say something to me that I haven't, talked about myself.
Mhm.
I own my story. There's no shame. There's no
Yeah.
embarrassment.
And then that
That
takes the
that
power out of anything negative.
you got it. And that journey is what brought me to this moment. Those lessons are what have inspired me to become where I am today. And I am grateful for every minute of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. And we're grateful for you
Oh,
because we get to learn from your wisdom.
oh, thank you. Thank you. And today, if I can show younger women how to excel, whether it to be excel in business, to excel in their personal lives, to develop that self-confidence and self-worth that will absolutely change their lives, that is my mission.
Yeah.
I mentor women. I love it. I'm still active in the recovery community. I want women to live full out, to be who they're meant to be. We are very powerful, divine creatures.
We
Uh,
are.
and historically, we were suppressed by patriarchy. We no longer are. We are coming out. We are standing up. We are speaking up. And we are changing the way the world is operating.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever read the book Cassandra Speaks
No, I have
by
not.
Elizabeth? Oh, you would love it. Listen to it.
Who wrote it? Okay.
Elizabeth Lesser.
Oh,
She
I
was
love
one of
her.
the inspirations for me starting this whole thing
Yep.
because the subtitle, I know I'm gonna get this wrong, but the subtitle is like, "When women are heard, the world changes," or something like that.
Yes.
I know I got that wrong, but it was a life-changing book for me.
I think women now are contributing so much that we are changing the world. We are changing things, the way people look at things.
Yeah,
And our voices are being heard finally.
yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm doing this, and I'm also doing this one of the things that I would love to be able to, expand this into is, um, sharing it with younger women, so they
Yep.
learn these lessons way before we did.
That would be beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. M my son is almost 21, and whenever he brings, like, one of his female friends home, I'm, like, all over it. He's like, "Okay, I'm outta here now."
Right. Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
So now, tell us a little more about, how you started going into all of the self-awareness learning and what you did and what that whole journey looked like.
Uh, I became a self-help junkie, I admit it. Early 90s. I started with Tony Robbins because he was, great for business. And he
Mhm.
wasn't really that famous when I saw him.
Yeah.
There might be 500 people in the room instead of, you know, 15,000. Uh, and after the first program I did with him, I literally, I think, tripled the volume of my real estate business in the next 2 years. I became a fan of Esther Hicks, Abraham, Law of Attraction, really dug deep into that, did a lot of work with it. And especially, it had so much meaning for me because what it taught me was the power of my thinking.
Mhm.
My thinking is a vibration, and what I think is what I'm going to manifest in my reality. And that was another game changer for me. I'm like, oh my God, I have been creating a lot of the turmoil, a lot of the upset, a lot of the loss in my life due to my own thinking.
Yeah.
Once I understood that, it just liberated me from the chaos,
Mhm.
um, from the pain. And to this day, almost every morning, I start my morning with meditation, a form of prayer or spiritual reading, because I feel that what I put into my mind first thing in the morning is going to set the pace for the day. I journal because I feel that that is the best way for me to clear my mind, get clarity as to what I want to create for the day. I write that all down. And it's very interesting. When women write in journals, we tell the truth.
Mhm.
We don't write crap down there. We write what we're thinking, what we're feeling. And that has been a tremendous process for me to enable myself to get clear, to start to create exactly what I want. And it's to this day. I mean, 34 years later, 35 years later, I am still doing that faithfully. It has been probably the most rewarding practice that I have done through my whole life. It is the foundation of my success and everything I do.
That's great. And I'm really hoping that by sharing everybody's stories through this project, that it will start to help other people realize the stories that they tell themselves and maybe change the narrative of that story.
And the things that I'm talking about, Donna, don't cost a lot of money.
No.
Meditation doesn't cost me anything. Reading wonderful, spiritual, inspiring books, not a big investment. The journaling, not a big
So
investment. I mean, I admit I've taken a lot of very expensive programs, but I'm not saying to women that's what you need to do. You just need to take time every day for yourself to get centered, to get into your heart, and to start to develop some clarity about what you really want and what what are you passionate about. And for me, it's what I want to leave behind. Now,
yeah.
my frame of thought is, how can I make an impact? What can I do to change women's lives now as much as I can? I want to touch as many women as I can, help as many women as I can, share what I know to as many as I can. I want to leave this earth knowing I made a difference.
What I love about this whole group that have gathered around this project is, um, everybody feels that way. They have a very, holistic view of legacy, and
Yes.
it's not about financial legacy, it's about, you know, what impact have you made? How have you helped? How, what mark did you leave on the world? And and while you're still here too, not that you have to leave the world to make an impact, but, I just think, we're all at this point right now where everything that we do, we want it to matter. We don't wanna spend
Yes.
time doing things that have no meaning.
And that's, you bring up an important point because I think there's so much distraction now that didn't exist 10 years ago with social media, with TikTok, with Instagram, with this thing and that thing, that we have to monitor that. It is so easy to get caught in all of that, and time can just fly by.
Yeah,
Also, it can be very damaging. And I
yes.
think it can be very damaging to young women. And I think that there needs to be some guidance, some oversight for young women as to what they're watching, what they're putting out there. I see some stuff and I'm like, oh my God, these young kids, what they're
Yeah,
doing,
and that
the backlash.
stays on the internet forever.
Yes. So they really need to have some guidance about what they're posting and also what they're reading, because it's about mindset. They start taking in all this stuff off of social media, and a lot of it doesn't have any merit, especially at that age. They're really attacking one another more than anything else.
Mhm.
That needs to be, checked, because that's going to create a very negative mindset for these young women. And it's alarming. You read about these young people today, especially after COVID, that are committing suicide. Um, you know, my heart breaks because I know that pain. I know that darkness intimately. And I mean, I was older, but these young people are in their late teens, early 20s,
Mm,
and they don't, they start to feel that there's no future.
yeah. It's very overwhelming, and, it's gonna only everything's moving faster with
Yes.
the new technology that's available
Yeah.
now. I mean, with AI, last week, just in 1 week, there were 1,000 new tools that were created in 1 week.
Oh my God. I
So
haven't even looked into that and I don't want to. I don't
it's
need it.
moving really fast,
Yeah. I mean,
and,
social media is not our friend, actually, when you think about it.
yeah,
Um,
I fell in love with social media when it first came out. My whole business
mhm.
is around social media, and that was part of why I changed my business because I fell out of love with social media.
Well, I loved it too, dear.
Yeah.
You helped me promote my books and all of that, and it was very important to use it. But when you step back and if you're not using it for business and to promote something worthwhile,
Mhm.
then you really take a hard look at it.
Yeah, it's just noise.
It's noise. It's
It's no
very loud noise.
Yeah,
And there's so much content that has no value.
none. It's g you have no idea what's coming.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna be
scary.
terrible. Well, I mean, I redesigned my business to focus on helping people connect with their stories, and they can share it however they wanna share it, but then what they're sharing is complete with no gaps. So
Mm,
wherever they take that, it just feels so much better than the tactics of where to share it,
mm,
but working on, becoming one with the story. And I mean, this has been so incredibly helpful to have these conversations and it's been a lot of catching up with people I haven't spoken to for a while too, which has been really wonderful. Um, but I really do believe that the way forward is through community and through story.
yes. We are changing. I think women are changing their strategy. I think we all used to compete. That was the model, competition. And now I think it's collaboration and connection
Yes.
and community. We all want to be part of a tribe.
Yes.
And, I love sacred circles and moon circles and getting together with a group of women on Zoom who we're spiritually aligned or we have the same interests. That lights me up.
Hmm. Well, that's just it. I mean, people connect through their values. They're not connecting through an algorithm. They're
Yeah.
connecting through what matters to them and what they care about, and that's the thing that technology can't replace. So, I think if we all lean more into that, that's what's going to be heard. We will be able to bypass the noise if we're leading with our hearts, with what we care about, being vulnerable and transparent about what we value, and, we'll naturally gravitate towards each other.
Mm. I don't want to mislead people. I like social media for educational, um, and I like it for connecting to
Mhm.
certain groups and people. So I'm not poo-pooing it completely. I'm just saying I think there needs to be a filter
Yeah,
established, especially for younger people. I
yeah.
think there needs to be a filter,
I
somebody
don't
monitoring.
I don't think that'll happen. It's gonna move too fast.
Yeah.
But the way that I view social media, it's like anything else. It's a tool, and, um, it will do what people tell it to do, and there are going to be good people, and there are gonna be not so good people.
Mm,
And, I've always felt that if I could just get a few more people to, you know, be a light on social media versus being the dark side of social media, then, that felt like a purpose to me.
mm.
And, that hasn't changed. I really feel there's so much goodness to it. I mean, I wouldn't know you. I mean, I wouldn't
Right. I
like,
know
there's
we
so much that
connected because of
yeah,
social media.
yeah, I
And
mean,
that's
like
what I'm saying. It's great for making new connections with people that are in alignment with your interests and beliefs and mission. And I think in that way it can be very positive.
mm,
Also, as we get older, I think we have a better filter about what we're looking at
yeah,
rather than younger people. And that's why that's my concern. It's not for our age group or, well, my age group. A lot of them aren't even on social media. They know nothing about it. I'm savvy only because of, real estate and, being an author and doing online events. But it's the younger people that need to understand that everything that they see there isn't
yeah,
necessarily the truth.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
um, I'm pretty inspired by this next generation. They're really smart. and they were raised with social media, so I think as they get a little bit older, they will be the filter,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I don't think there's gonna be any official monitoring. It's too
Yeah.
integrated into everything that we do,
It's too
and
big.
yeah, and, um but these kids, like, I have this theory, like, my son was born in 2002, and when I was pregnant, I was working in a law firm, and there were 9 of us pregnant at the same time, and we each had a baby in the middle of the month, 9 months in a row, and the first one was born right after 9/11. And then, the rest, we were all they were all either born or conceived around 9/11, and I think that they were just born with this built-in resilience, and
Mhm.
then they went into the school shootings. I mean, they've grown up dealing with this, and then a pandemic. I mean, my son was class of 2020.
Oh,
His
goodness.
graduation was in, we sat in the car in the parking lot of a really crappy mall. It wasn't even a good mall.
Whoa, he
It
really
it was the
experienced
mall
it.
with the Chinese buffet.
Mhm.
And, I
Mhm.
think that they just have this resilience built into them. I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, but I've seen my son go through things and snap back, and his friends too, not just him, but, I've seen them really be resilient in a way that I didn't learn to be resilient like that until I was in my
Mm.
40s.
Oh, kids are growing up so fast today. I mean, look at all these teenagers have iPhones.
They have iPhones
Yeah,
before they're teenagers.
yeah, it's wild. Yeah. They have so much more exposure,
They do, but
so much more.
this is where they need our wisdom.
Yes. Yeah.
This is where they need our wisdom, because if they have that level of intelligence and resilience, and they listen to somebody who's maybe a little further down the line than they are, um, they're quite unstoppable.
Yeah. Um,
They don't just accept what's handed to them like we did.
yeah, what did I know to question?
Yeah.
I was raised in a family that what what I was told I thought was what it is,
Mhm.
and you didn't question that. You didn't object. If something happened and you didn't like it, it was not discussed.
Mhm.
So my voice, I feel, was suppressed. And I'm not saying that my parents weren't good or whatever, but that's just kind of the modality of the way things were done then. So I never really had a voice.
Yeah.
And I don't think I found my voice until I got in my 40s and I
Mhm.
started to realize I had one and I could express what I wanted and especially what I didn't want.
Yes. Yes. That's where you learn that
That was
no is
the
a complete sentence.
Yeah, that was the big one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And now that takes me back to that interview with Jane Fonda again, because one of the things she said was, "How we behave is how we were or were not parented. As
Mhm.
kids, we assume it's our fault, and it had nothing to do with you."
And I lived my life thinking that everything that happened to me was my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in fact,
'Cause it wasn't explained to you that it wasn't.
no. And in
Children should be
fact,
seen and not heard, right?
yeah, today when I'm talking with women and they share, I think relationships are always a very hot topic. And they'll talk about a relationship, a failed relationship, a failed marriage. There's one thing I have learned and really understand that no matter what somebody else does to us, it has nothing to do with us. It is a missing piece, it's a hole within them. It is something that is lacking within that individual
Mhm.
that drives them to behave a certain way or or say something or whatever. It really has nothing to do with us. And so we have to learn that and understand that. And then when you have that knowledge, now you can work so much more effectively in any kind of relationship,
Yeah,
business, personal, whatever.
'cause
You know how to maneuver when you understand it's not about you.
yeah, 'cause you're not taking on all that baggage and carrying that around,
Right.
and that turns into resentment, and then that's what breaks relationships.
And women, we love to carry that old luggage around.
Yeah,
I know. I dragged mine around for years,
I know, I used to
and
say my mother carried it in her light blue Samsonite with no wheels.
yeah, yeah, we need to let go of that shit, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah, and it feels like I went through a lot of healing over the last couple of years, and there was about a year and a half ago, I was realizing that I spent my entire life in survival mode, and I was always fighting something, and I was always ready for a fight, and then one day, I just got tired, and I sat
mm,
down, and I put down that shield, and it was like a pop, there was no specific thing I can say that that made that happen. It was just like a pop, like your ears pop on the airplane. It was like that, and I was like, "Huh, I don't need this anymore. Put it down."
yeah,
And it was amazing. It was just amazing. Like this peace came over me that I never had before.
and that wisdom that you're talking about translated in my own life to not having that need to be right, which is really a form of being defensive.
Mhm.
But I would fight till, right to the end, till the last word was said. And huge arguments or whatever. I don't need to do that. I don't need to be right.
No, it's
I can walk
exhausting.
away. I want to be happy.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want to spend my valuable energy and get myself twisted like a pretzel just to be right or to have the last word on something.
Yeah.
I have learned that my own sense of balance and grounding and being really centered and feeling good, being in alignment with who I am is more important to me than having that last word or defending something. It's just not important.
Well, when you get to that point, when people bring that energy into your world, they're out.
Mm,
There's just no room for it, you know?
yeah,
It doesn't get oxygen, it gets the oxygen from you fighting, but when you
yeah,
just become the slack rope, they either leave on their own or you have to say, "Your time here is over."
yeah. And it applies to business too.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I
it's
think when you work the way that we work, there's no gray area. I mean, your life is your business and your business is your life.
yeah,
'Cause it's the work, and it's the work that you were meant to be doing, and you really can't do it properly until you let all of that other stuff go.
well, it's my passion.
Yeah.
I only do what I'm really passionate about.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not motivated by money
Mhm.
any longer. I was when I was younger, but I'm not motivated by money. So I'm very selective about what I want to do with my time.
Mhm. It's a nice place to be.
Yes, it is.
It's a nice. Okay, so
Yes.
we're just at about a little over 30 minutes. Is there any final bit of wisdom that you would like to share and have people take away?
Yes. A big one. This is a big lesson. As women, we have no limitations, only the ones that we create for ourselves. There is nothing that we cannot do. If we want to do it, and wh- when I say it, if it's something that we want to do, it may require discipline, it may require additional knowledge, it may require um, altering, where you spend your time. But you have the ability to make those choices.
Yes.
You can take those steps that are needed to create whatever you want. There are no limitations. I am living proof that there are no limitations.
It's
When I set
beautiful.
my mind to something and I want to create it, I do. I mean, I went to school for 3 years, a few years ago, energy medicine school, because I wanted to learn how to care for my own body better, how to work with my energy better, and how could I share that with others that it would improve their lives. Now I'm in my 70s. I think I'm the oldest person in the classroom. Um, Again, no limitation. I'm now using that knowledge to do my crystal chakra healing work and energy work that I love to do. So don't let age, or if you don't have a formal education for something, hold you back, because you can go get it.
I never even graduated high school.
Whoa, girl. I love you. I didn't graduate college, but I'll tell you something. I'm a very smart lady because I have taken a gazillion classes of things that I love,
Yeah, me too. I never
that I
stopped
actually love.
learning. The
Nope.
reason I stopped going to school is it wasn't safe. I
Mhm.
wasn't learning anything, and, we needed money. My mom was sick. She's a single mom, 4 kids, and I went to work. I learned more going to work than I would have learned in school. I
Good
would
for
have got in
you.
trouble in school.
Yeah. So I don't want anybody that's listening to us today say, well, I can't do that. Or, yes, you can. You can do anything you want. You may need to learn more about it. You may need to get a little bit more disciplined, but you can do it.
Somebody told me the other day something couldn't be done. I did it in 6 hours.
Ah, I love you, Donna.
And then I sent him a link of what I created, and I said, "What do you think?" And I haven't heard back yet.
Mhm. Well, look how you put all this together. You had a kind of a just a flashing moment of thought. Wouldn't this be great? You have so many women that wanted to be part of this project. I mean, I couldn't sign up fast enough
Oh, I know, you were
because
right there.
I know I believe that we really went that we're better when we were over 50,
Yeah,
because we've learned the lessons, we've learned the important lessons, now we're applying them, and we are teaching them.
and
So
we
it's
know how
like,
to get shit done.
yeah, it's like the pebble in the pond. We are putting out those ripples.
Yeah, yeah, every day, every
Yes,
day. I think
you
every
got it.
single thing I do, I have this vision of how many people can this reach? And not just random, like, how many people can this reach that it's gonna mean something to?
Yeah,
Everything I do is based on that.
beautiful.
Okay, so connect with Mal. Her website is malduanecoach.com. She's also on the Real 50 Over 50 webpage, and connect with everybody. There are so far 53 people up there. I'm going for 400. So,
Oh, I love it.
no,
Oh
not
my gosh.
400, 200, 200, 4 years of interviews. I said that wrong. But if it's 400,
Beautiful.
it's 400. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. I think that there are just so many incredible women doing incredible things, and not enough people know about them. So even if this opens up the door to meet 5 or 10 new people, I think it was worthwhile.
beautiful.
But I think it's gonna be way more than that.
I always love seeing you.
I love seeing you too. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for letting me be part of this. It's
Oh,
wonderful.
I'm thrilled. So we'll be back next week with another interview, and join us every Wednesday at noon Eastern time.